Hello, everybody. It's Dave Neal, stand-up comic and host of the Rush Hour podcast and Bachelor Nation News. And the sort of theme of this video, the premise, is should I quit? Now, before some of you quickly answer, yes, please. The question is, should I quit talking about politics on my channel? Some people voted with their follow button, or unsubscribe button, I should say. We lost 8 followers on Friday after, I don't want to say breaking a story. Someone else broke it. We just covered it. The source that said Biden was going to step down on this Sunday. Now, in hindsight, our vision is 2020, but we were 2020 on Friday when we looked into this and said, I think this is what's going to happen. So we'll get into some of that. But the more I looked into this video today, which was going to reply to the haters saying, Dave, stay in your lane. We don't come here to hear political news, X, Y, and Z. The more I realized a pleasant surprise from a majority of audience that said, Dave, keep talking about this. You're doing an okay job. I'll never claim to be an expert in anything I talk about. Trust me, my wife will tell you. Jack of all trades, expert in none, right? But I do think there is a conversation that has been lacking where people on the internet can play into their echo chamber being a progressive movement or a right-leaning movement, MAGA, whatever it is. People can play into their respective niches and receive a large enough audience that they don't need to challenge themselves or others to have a deeper conversation. I think I actually possess a very interesting platform here that is across culture and across political divide, that being an audience that has come to me through Bachelor Nation News, and more specifically, an audience that has come to me through the Clayton Echard story. The story of a man who is accused of being the father of someone's unborn twins. That audience, in part, came from people like Megan Fox, who is a right-leaning personality and journalist. They have come to me from people like That Umbrella Guy, who I'm assuming is right-leaning, I'm not too sure, and from others that might have different political ideologies. And what we have learned is that in pursuit of justice, in pursuit of deeper conversations, there's more that we all agree upon than disagree upon. And by dividing us with a line in the sand, we actually take away a conversation that might be happening amongst a very big Venn diagram. You know a Venn diagram, right? You have people on one side, people on the other, and what they agree on. Our Venn diagram is actually overlapped so much so that I think most people agree that a conversation should be had in how to go forward as a country and unify amongst our common goals, not our very rare differences. Now, we might have differencing of opinions on how to achieve some of those goals, but I think rather than break each other down and knock each other down by our knees based on our differences, we can say, well, at least we both want this country to be strong, independent, everyone have jobs and a livelihood that they can get behind, and we want to get rid of debt and good health care. We shouldn't get wiped out because we, fell on a pothole and broke our ankle and don't have good health insurance. The pothole exists because we don't have good infrastructure. This isn't a world we should live in, right? The most, one of, if not the wealthiest countries in the world. So anyway, I made this video, and again, not to take a victory lap, but we did receive some comments. Amy said, Biden is not withdrawing. I said, just watch the video. She commented that right away. I said, just watch the video before you're going to comment that. And then other people said, you can't do this. Biden they'll lose if he withdraws. Historically speaking, you can't withdraw. An incumbent has a better shot. All those things don't matter. We live in an upside down world where a lot of the historical trends don't matter. We live in a new world with social media, and we are so much quicker to inform ourselves on our political candidates that we don't need a 9-month turnaround to learn about Kamala Harris and what she stands for. We got TikTok. We can watch a couple videos. But either way, there will always be somebody who wants to penalize me for what they believe is a disagreement on I guess, their value system. Now, my podcast, The Rush Hour with Dave Neal, is a pop culture-based podcast where I've vowed to tell people, look, I'll give you as much pop culture news as I have, and then whatever is happening politically. And so if I do 25 minutes in the morning and 25 minutes in the evening, if I give you a full hour's worth of content, I'm going to try to save the political conversation for the second half of the podcast for those that would like to tune out beforehand. I have gone above and beyond and out of my way to let people know if this isn't content you want, I will still serve you the other flipping content. It's almost as if I am a Dunkin' Donuts who is rebranded to Dunkin'. And people go, oh, we miss Dunkin' Donuts. We still have donuts. We still have donuts. There's also this flatbread thing if people want the flatbread thing. There's a Baskin Robbins in the corner, but it's still Dunkin' Donuts. Well, no, you've changed. No, the colors are the same. I'm the same. And by the way, and I just have to say this, my channel took off in part or not because of entirely our ability to talk about difficult conversations. Starting with Colton Underwood and Cassie Randolph, a conversation no one was talking about on their YouTube channels with regards to that devastating story from 3 years ago. We talk about colorism, lack of diversity on the show. We talk about so many other complicated issues, and we're just supposed to not talk about the political ones. No. So that we're just going to reject that. Although, I am in no shock that we did receive 1-star reviews. Edit back to a 1-star review. This person gives me a different edit every week. They go from they vacillate or oscillate. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they oscillate while they vacillate from a 5 to a 1-star review. I'd give 0 stars if I could. We don't want to hear about politics. But he doesn't respect that, nor does he care. It's not barrel scraping season anymore. Stop talking about tampons and politics. Oh my gosh. So of course, what have I done now that this person demands I stop talking about tampons? Teens are reportedly boiling used tampons to get high. This is a story we'll have because I got high on today's afternoon rush hour, along with very important news we'll get to. But again, it's not all politics. It's entertainment news driven with pop culture. And in the popular culture world, of course, in today's world, it involves a relatively important conversation about politics. So when I started diving into the comment sections, which I don't normally do, or don't always do, sometimes I do, I started to realize, wow, there's actually a greater thirst for this conversation. The main thing I tell people I offer on my YouTube channel are mealtime length videos. I try to give you 10 to 20 minute long videos. So while you're at lunch, you can hit play once and you can trust old boy Dave, good old boy, Uncle Dave, Daddy Dave here, is going to give you 20 minutes of something that might help you think deeper about a topic, or maybe take your mind off a topic so you can focus on piling down the El Pollo Loco while I give you some content. And I use El Pollo Loco as a reference because I know what it's like to watch a mealtime length video. I've worked a lot of jobs I didn't like, and I had 30 minutes to myself, and I would just put a video on at a fast food restaurant in between my shift and just melt away my thoughts for a few minutes and let Dave do the heavy lifting. So that's what we do here. Dave Neal, the only person from whom I want to hear news. Seriously, I appreciate that you don't attack people on either side and have a fair view of the reality of the situation. You are offering facts without the extreme emotion with which people usually come to political discussions. I keep coming back to your content here and when you are on other podcasts because of who you are, which I experience as authentic, kind, thoughtful, and just good vibes. Thank you, Dave. Renee, thank you so much. I'll tell you this. I'm not going to pat myself on the back here a little bit, but I anticipate with our very judgmental audience, not necessarily you, but that on Bachelor subreddits and everything, we have an audience that requires the deepest level of critical thinking, which means don't just give your complete snap judgment of what's going on, but go a little deeper. So if I'm going to say, I think Trump is a weak candidate, I don't want someone to respond, no, he's not. I want to say, this is why I believe he's a weak candidate, which is exactly what happened. Someone said, Dave, Donald Trump isn't a weak candidate. And to that I reply, he was essentially, for all intensive purposes, for all intent and purpose, for all pop and circumstance, for all of the tense that are being purposed, he barely was neck to neck, if not winning or losing. It was a coin flip with Biden, who is also a weak candidate, mainly because of his age and for the lack of faith the nation has in his ability to prosecute his point. We'll get into that in a second. Renee said, what is going on in this country that no one is allowed to have an opinion, get bashed for having a voice and using it? What happened to friendly debates and not hating someone because they don't share your views? We need a lot of help here. I'm not sure what needs to happen to get us in the right direction, but it starts at the polls. Thanks, Dave, for your insight. I appreciate it. Yeah, we need to be able to have these conversations, which, by the way, I'm not claiming the DNC has done a good job doing. They have continued to suppress voices of the progressive mind to put in their corporate-backed candidate. I'm not a big fan of that, and I can tell you why Trump is a weak candidate, while also explain why we need money out of the politics so that the powers that be in the Democratic National Committee don't keep giving us candidates we don't necessarily ask for. Also, politics are basically reality TV at this point, so why not keep it coming? Yes, reality TV. The content we cover, Bachelor, Vanderpump, whatever it is we're covering. It is great content to cover because we get to look at relationships and then we can watch them with a common denominator, which means if we go to the quote-unquote water cooler or the comment section, we all know who Tom Sandoval is when we're talking about it. We all know who the Bachelorette is. Oh my gosh, can you believe this guy did this? Well, we all know parasocially these political personalities, so we can continue to have this conversation along with others here in either on YouTube or podcasting or wherever it is. You told us this would happen on Friday, and that Meacham would help him write the exit letter. You have some excellent sources. I did tell you this on Friday, and I didn't make my video lightly. I saw somebody who was reporting. His name's Halperin, Mark Halperin, right? I think that's his first name. I saw what he was reporting. I saw that he had multiple sources. This is why you don't just want one source when you cover something, because someone can dupe someone else. You want a source, then you want to find another source. And then the New York Times had 5 sources, different sources. Now, if they were wrong, then it would be less credibility for Halperin. It would be less credibility for the New York Times. So when I saw that other institutions were putting their name on the line, again, they don't always get it right, but it's more than Joe Schmo. For instance, today, I saw a tweet today that said Joe Biden was going to step down because he has a terminal illness. Hold on a second. I clicked the link to the original person who shared that source, and it was somebody, even though they were verified, who I did not trust what they were saying. It sounded like it might be true, but it came from somebody who doesn't get it right. Their batting average was not above 90%. So I did not cover that story. I'm only telling you that to say that didn't pass my sniff test, whereas on Friday, this story did. I really enjoy watching you cover this kind of content. You've shown with the Jane Doe case that you really have a talent at explaining complex topics and making it easy to digest, while also making it engaging and interesting. It's really a gift. Glad to see you use elsewhere, and we'll definitely be watching. I truly appreciate that. I don't value myself greatly intellectually speaking, but I do find that I try to dumb down topics to what people can understand. And I will say, sometimes I do feel that I am wasting my God-given moments covering reality TV. Sometimes I do go, gosh, what if I do have a voice that can reach a much larger audience? And what if I am capable of continuing my ideology, my progressive ideologies, which is that I believe we can raise the basement of what we find tolerable in the United States. And by that, I mean the basement is the minimum wage, not the wage we want to pay 12-year-olds to, the minimum wage we should be paying adults to do an hour's worth of work. That should be raised to meet a level that it was in the 60s and 70s. Can somebody support a family off of this wage? And if we have companies that cannot hack it at that wage, won't capitalism take care of those companies and say, well, you couldn't survive? Put it this way. If Walmart can't afford to pay their employees $25 to $30 per hour, maybe the goods at Walmart need to be raised to a higher level. Hold on a second. And maybe all of the mom and pop shops that were closed when Walmart came to town would have a chance to come back. It's almost like when they reintroduced wolves into the Colorado forest, and all of a sudden they reintroduced wolves, which lowered the livestock, of the deer, and that made it so that there was more grass being grown, and that brought back the bees, whatever, the butterfly effect, right? So it's my belief we can raise the basement, provide greater maternity leave, maybe even paternity leave, dare I say. Provide people with the ability to choose what type of job they want, not based on whether that job provides them mother effing health care. Shouldn't we all have good health care? Well, why don't you move to Canada then? Those types of people will always exist. I'll try my best to swat them away like a mosquito because they're not here to have good faith conversations like you and I are. Dave, we're with you and your channel as your channel evolves. Audiences love to come along for the ride. Keep up the great content. Thank you so much. I want to see Gretchen Whitmer talk circles around Trump in a debate. The men who have debated Trump in the past all stumble with their words. Hillary was caught off guard in that debate. Now Trump's style is known. Let's see a woman knock him off his ego. And I've said this before. A lot of people like Trump are going, well, this isn't fair. You guys all elected Biden. Well, first of all, the DNC primary was not fair. It wasn't. If you want to take the 300 million people and say half are Democrat, half are Republican, I know it's not that simple, but if you take 150 million or so people, call it 100 million that are registered Democrat, 15 million people voted for Biden. That ain't that many. And a lot of people felt that they'd keep him in because usually with a primary, usually you don't even have a primary, right? When you're the incumbent, because the odds of succeeding are very high. But because of his age and because he was initially only going to be a one-term president, people wanted to take a shot at saying, no, we need fresh blood in there. The DNC denied that. They kicked the can so far down the road that, and maybe it wasn't the DNC, maybe it was the Biden team. And you have to remember, the Biden team, they live and die with Biden, metaphorically and physically. If Biden doesn't get a second term, they don't keep their job. The new president brings in their new team, their new chief of staff, their new cabinet, and all of that. So there was a force at work to keep Biden in. And that's too bad. Luckily, democracy did play, albeit months too late, and political pressure from the media, pressure from people was that he needs to step down. And people go, oh, it's too messy. This is a government op. This is a psyop. No, I've been saying it, and I am just a person, and everyone else has been saying it. So Gretchen Whitmer is a governor from Michigan. And how funny that they mention her, because I am like, as far as political attraction goes, I have an odd political attraction to Gretchen Whitmer. There's something very cool about her. Let's just play a clip.
Michigan, we're turning up the heat with some serious infrastructure projects. This season, we're taking our commitment to fixing the damn roads, pipes, bridges, and everything in between.
Gonna fix those damn worlds, and they call it Hot Infrastructure Summer. Could you imagine if we did this for like a national project? It's hot, get rid of lead in the water in Detroit summer.
To the next level. We're rolling up our sleeves and continuing our work on critical infrastructure that keeps our state moving. From smoother
She's like Sarah Palin, but with an education.
roads and stronger bridges to clean, reliable water systems. We're bringing the heat and making sure Michigan's infrastructure is built to last.
Now, I don't know if she has a snowball's chance in hell to become the presidential nominee. We covered this on this morning's Rush Hour podcast. The Clintons, the Obamas, just about everybody, Biden has endorsed Kamala as the next president nominee for the DNC. This in part because of financial rules regarding money they've already raised. Sure. My hope, though, is that at least on paper, it's an open convention, so other people who may decide to run can run. If you're Gretchen Whitmer, you probably don't want to run for president yet. She can, I believe, do another, or she's on her second term as governor, and maybe, and I don't believe that she would be a VP candidate for Kamala Harris. Is it sexist or gender-based that people wouldn't want to see a woman VP to be the VP of a female presidential candidate? Yes, but those are the types of things they think about. Now, she would be fantastic as a governor of Michigan, a swing state, and all this. But we also have Mark Kelly. Now, I'm going to go to Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly's fascinating, and I get really excited to hear about this. Mark Kelly is a gosh dang American hero. Where do you start? You don't even need to. An American politician, former astronaut and United States Navy captain who's been the junior U.S. Senator from Arizona since 2020. He's just got it all, including his spouse, Gabby Giffords. You might remember the name, and not everyone has been following this closely, but Gabby Giffords was shot in the head. And I don't understand how she survived, to be quite honest. I truly don't. And they together have such a rich story of overcoming adversity. She was shot in the head due to a crazy person. Their political party doesn't matter. It really doesn't. So no need to say it here. But either way, he would make for a great presidential candidate or vice president candidate for multiple reasons, including, but not limited to, the fact that he's in Arizona, which is still a up in the air swing state. So, the idea that you might boost the polls 1% to 2% because we want to vote for the local guy, that's totally fair. But also, he represents a form of patriotism we haven't seen in a long time in this country. No offense to former President Donald Trump, but his bone spurs jumped in the way of him doing, his civic duty in Vietnam, which again, I would have respected him more if he just said, I'm protesting the war like, Cassius Clay Muhammad Ali did, right? Now, my father, who died of, in part, Agent Orange and post-traumatic stress from Vietnam, makes me look at him as someone who, my father died a poor and broken man. And then you see someone like Trump who dodged those atrocities and, in some believe, grifted his way to the top. You realize the thirst in this country for a Mark Kelly, and I don't think that can be understated. Someone shared a photo of this. Let me see if I can find. I totally spelled that wrong. Giffords photo hospital. Someone shared this, and it's so dang telling to see how he was by her side right there. Mark Kelly and wife Gabby Giffords by her side during her recovery from a gunshot wound to the head due to political violence. Wild stuff. And I'm sure there's a million stories of why he's a hero, along with Gabby Giffords. But would I welcome them into a political party or a political nomination? I think it would be very hard for someone like J.D. Vance, served in the military, to go up against the stratospheric elegance of a former astronaut. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. So, again, there's a lot to think about here. I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you the absolute conspiracy to keep RFK Jr. from mainstream media. He did a press conference yesterday. Look, I've said this about Trump, I've said this about Biden, and I've said this about RFK. We should not be afraid of what somebody else has to say. And by that I mean, if RFK Jr. is a bad candidate and a bad choice for president, let him speak. Let bad speech rise to the occasion or fall to the occasion if it doesn't outlive good speech. So Trump, at the time, Biden and RFK, I would have loved the three of them on stage. RFK is polling way higher than most third-party candidates ever have. The only reason he entered the third party, the independent party, or as an independent, is because he was left off the debate stage. He very fairly should have been debating Joe Biden and Marianne Williamson. They should have been debating months ago, and maybe we would have noticed, hey, Joe doesn't have the fastball anymore, and he doesn't live up to, while he was great as president, the next 4 years are not looking likely. Here's what RFK Jr. had to say.
Biden and President Trump, you can look at them and say these are very different people. Their dispositions are different. Their personalities are different. Their expressed ideologies are very, very different. Their approach to politics could not be more distinct. But if you actually look at the policies over which they differ, over the landscapes in which they're staging this election, it's a very narrow Overton window of guns, of culture war issues, of abortion, of trans rights, etc. And while we're all staring at each other's throats on those issues, on the jangly keys, they're robbing the bank over here.
I don't disagree. There are a lot of issues culturally that we have in our country, but the idea that they're dangling the key at simple issues of what type of stick figure we're going to put on the bathroom of unisex bathrooms in the airport, the real issues are not being addressed. I mean, when was the last time someone talked about Medicare for all? When was the last time? I mean, where are the policies? And again, I'll shout out my friend Megan Fox here. I tell her this all the time. As we keep talking about DEI initiatives of, oh, should they have had female Secret Service agents? People, we talk about that, and I go, how about the big issues, which are, for me, taxing people fairly? And that means the ultra wealthy paying their fair share, using that money to disperse it to social welfare programs that protect all of us, including but not limited to more health, mental health programs, so that police officers don't have to be in the streets trying to decide if someone needs to be in a psych hold or not. Their job is to serve and protect, not to be a mental health advocate. So let's have more people there to serve others, to help wean people off pharmaceuticals and in the pill mills that have led so many to be homeless. I mean, the list goes on and on for ways we can tangibly help others. Biden lowered the cost of insulin. What about all the other pharmaceutical companies that are bought and paid for by mainstream media? They truly are. And you could say that about the right, and you could say that about the left. I mean, how are we supposed to trust the media when it's sponsored by big pharma? So if RFK Jr. is not a good candidate, let the people know by letting him debate the other two candidates. Let iron sharpen iron. I have faith that the people can decide for themselves. Is he the worst in the world because he believes that vaccines can lead to injuries after believing he suffered a neurological injury due to a vaccine? I don't think that makes him the worst in the world to believe that. And I don't think it's any different than what Trump believes based on some of the conversations they've had. And I think people at least want to hear what they have to say. I say this as somebody who won't be voting probably for RFK Jr., although I find it very interesting, the silencing of others. So if you like what we're doing over here, I'm going to try to be fair with you. Now, someone did leave a comment. I don't know if I have it right here. They left a comment saying, I went to your channel without watching the news. Oh, no, that wasn't it. Someone left, was this one? Someone asked if I could cover more of, the assassination attempt with Trump. Yeah, I wasn't planning on having political videos. But my snap opinion on the assassination attempt was that it wasn't a conspiracy. It was gross incompetency and multiple bureaucratic levels of local police and this police and not being on the same, channel length that led to them not taking out the assassination, the attempted assassination sooner. So my belief generally goes down to the principles of incompetence is what's slowing us down, and not grander conspiracies. Although conspiracies do exist, I just don't think every single one is one. Alex said, great job, Dave. I love that you're covering politics. I'm secretly hoping it'll lead to you running for president one day. Doubtful. I feel sad for Biden that he'd had to step down, even if it may have been the right thing to do. I'm not even sure it was. It depends who's next. Hopefully the bright side of him having COVID is it provided an excuse to step down while preserving his dignity. We're way overdue for a female president, but it needs to be the right person. I find Kamala Harris so off-putting. I'd really prefer someone else. She's definitely not more likable than Biden, and I don't see her having a better chance than him. I'm quite nervous about how this will all play out. Someone left a comment about why it's Kamala, and that is that the metaphor would be like somebody. It's like we were all stuck in a rainstorm, and Kamala drove by in a car and said, "Get on in." And by that I mean she is tethered to Biden's the money that has been raised for him. I would love it if there's another stronger candidate that comes forward and raises a ton of money so we could take the money out of the equation. So Sarah did say, I went to your channel without watching the news. I'm confused why Harris isn't more popular. Can anyone enlighten me? Here's what's tough with her. She was a district's attorney. And when you're a district's attorney, you choose who to prosecute. And there are stories of her whether they're completely valid or not. There are plenty of stories in the media of her withholding evidence that led to someone's conviction, going after crimes like smoking marijuana or drug dealing and having admitted that she smoked it herself. And you start to have these issues that it makes you a very tough candidate because you do have a track record that can be spun and used against you, whether it's for the right reasons. But again, I think when it comes down to it, that will be less important with her. And it'll be whether or not she can debate well, which she showed in the primary from, was it 2020, that she was not a good debater. She did not poll well. She was not one of the top candidates. That was not a strong point for her. We'll have to see if that has changed. I would be lying to you if I said, oh, she's the greatest candidate in the world. I hope there's an open convention, just like I hope RFK Jr. would be able to debate on a grander stage, because he's proven, due to the polling, that he deserves to be up there. He really has proven that. So it's not just some quack. He has proven with his audience that he deserves to be there. So with that said, I think in the open convention, if it is Kamala, she beats out others that might also want to run. You might have Gavin Newsom, Whitmer, and others say, I don't want anything to do with this election. I'll wait 4 more years. In which case, they might have to wait 8 more years. But we'll have to see how it all plays out. Let me know what you think. You can vote with your follow. You can decide to ban Dunkin' Donuts because they started serving flatbread, or you can appreciate the donuts where they are. I'll be coming to you tomorrow morning with my Bachelorette recap. If you want entertainment news and if you want political news, guess what? They have this fun thing called a thumbnail, and you can just choose and click which one you want to watch. But anyhow, comment section is closed on my end. You can leave a comment, but I probably won't be reading it unless it further serves the channel. So if your comment is so crazy that it makes you look stupid, maybe I'll read it. But otherwise, I've got content to make. We're doing double duties here, folks. Catch me this afternoon on the Rush Hour if you want political, entertainment, and pop culture news all in one place. We'll see you then.